Hello everybody, I am the Wandering NPC and welcome back to my second Pokemon challenge, Pokemon Red, with only Psychic types. Psychic types are notoriously broken in Gen 1. They are easily the strongest type in the game, and to add to that, due to some error, Psychic Pokemon were actually immune to ghosts in these games, meaning they basically had no weaknesses. You may ask, what about bug moves? Well, they work as intended, but there is one issue. There are only 4 bug type moves in this gen, one of which is String Shot. Also, Leech Life was 20 power until Gen 6. The only Pokemon who could learn the remaining moves were Jolteon and Beedrill, none of whom are used in any major fights in the game. So what exactly makes this a challenge? Well, this video was actually requested by someone, so yeah, I do take challenge requests. This is pretty much just me seeing how easily I could beat the game. However, to add at least a little bit of a challenge, I will be starting the game with Abra. At first glance, you might look at Abra's stats and think that we are in for an easy start because of high special and speed. However, let's take a look at its moveset. That's right, Abra only learns Teleport. So, how am I even gonna do any damage? Let's find out. Here are the rules. I can only use Psychic types. I can only use one of each individual Pokemon, so no multiple Alakazams for example. But I can catch multiple for trading. No items in battle. Held items are not a thing in this gen anyway. And finally, no glitches and no exploits. Let's get this started. I used the randomizer to replace Bulbasaur with Abra, simply because Bulbasaur was the only one that took super effective damage from us. I named him Caveman, after the person who recommended this challenge. As for the rival fight, as you'd expect, we lost very easily since we have no attacking moves. So, how am I gonna do damage? Well, it's a long, boring, repetitive process, but it's the only one we got until we evolved to Kadabra. I go into random battles and use Teleport until we run out of PP, and then I enter trainer battles and use Struggle until we either win or lose. It's not reliable, but it's the only thing we can do for now. When our health gets low, I either have to use potions or go to the Pokemon Center. I'll see which one works best. We try using Struggle against the first trainer in Viridian Forest, and we get beat up very easily by Weedle. Yeah, maybe I should grind against Metapod and Kakuna first. I'll be back once I gain a level or 2. I started at level 6, and we end up having no issues with Weedle because it just did not attack us for some reason. We leveled up, but we took too much recoil damage and just ended up knocking ourselves out along with the Caterpie at the same time. We were just 1 HP away from winning this. Let's start at level 7 and see what happens. Luckily, we crit a lot since crit rates are tied to speed in this gen, so we might get it done this time. I tried this a few times because of bad crit and poison luck from Poison Point. Did I say Poison Point? Yeah, I meant Poison Sting. Why did I write this? Anyway, it's just not happening at this level either. I guess I was just lucky at level 6. Clearly, we do not have enough health yet. I need to grind a couple more levels. Let's try level 9 and see how that goes. Level 9! Although Weedle is now a 3-shot with Struggle, we just go back to knocking ourselves out along with Caterpie. This is the first trainer of the game. It's a bug catcher with Caterpie and Weedle. How am I struggling here? Let's just keep going at it. Surely we can get past this forest before turning into a Kadabra. Some of you may be wondering if I'm actually going back to the Pokemon Center and then using teleport until we run out every single time. Yes I am. It's long and boring, but it's part of the challenge. It's especially bad because sometimes we go for a while without encounters for some reason. Either way, let's get to 11, then try again. So this is how it went. Our first struggle crits for great damage against Weedle. It hit us with poison. I wrote poison powder. Poison sting. Weedle has poison sting. Luckily did not poison us. And then a second struggle beats Weedle and leaves us with 17 HP. As for Caterpie, our first struggle crits again for big damage, although it deals big recoil. Then Caterpie crits us in return, leaving us with just 5 HP. We use one more struggle to take Caterpie down, leaving us with just 1 HP after recoil. Finally, this was the first trainer of the game. How did it take this long? I'm not gonna show you guys every single trainer battle. Let's just move on to Brock. By the time I reached Brock, we were level 13 and we got absolutely decimated. Yeah, it's time to evolve to Kadabra. We are not winning before then. I wish it would have been more interesting, but we were literally doing 1 damage because Struggle is a normal type move in this gen, as opposed to later gens where I believe it becomes typeless. I grinded until level 16 when Abra evolves into Kadabra and learns Confusion. This is where the run should start becoming easier. Look at Kadabra's special. For this stage of the game, it is really good. Let's take on Brock again and see how this goes. Yeah, super easy as expected. Kadabra one-shots Geodude and Onix with no issues whatsoever. They both have awful special and Kadabra is really good. Let's head to Mount Moon and then Cerulean where we can catch our next encounter, which we will not be using. It'll become clear later. I reached Cerulean at level 21 and I decided to immediately try facing Misty instead of the rival fight, which I was confident I could win. Staryu was very easy, but then came Starmie. I wasn't doing much damage to it because it resists confusion due to it being psychic type with really good special. It was doing more damage to me with Tackle because we are physically not that great. However, luck was on my side and we managed to confuse it, although it hit us the first time, but it hit itself twice in a row to knock itself out. Good first try. Now let's move on to the rival fight and then we can catch the Pokemon that we will not use. So we took more damage from Pidgeotto than I thought we would. Confusion wasn't a one-shot, so it hit us with Gust and then Quick Attack for decent damage to bring us down to about half health before we took it out. Then came Abra, and although it was a 3-shot because of its decent special, it went fine because it does not know a single attacking move. Then Rattata was an easy one-shot, obviously. Last was Charmander, who was also an easy one-shot. I was a little bit worried at the start, but it was fine. Let's go catch our next Pokemon. We went north of Cerulean to catch an Abra. You may be asking why when I already have a Kadabra. Well, it won't be used in battle. Instead, it'll be used for another purpose later. For now, let's just go to the SSN rival fight. I don't think much else will happen between then and now. Alright, before that we can catch an encounter that we can actually use. I go east of Vermilion where I catch a Drowsy. It's level 13 and does not have any Psychic type moves until 17 when it learns Confusion. It's got good special. I've never used Drowsy in Gen 1. I am looking forward to see what it can do. So I started off with Drowsy just to try it out. I knew it wouldn't do much damage at a low level. Immediately Pidgeotto misses Sand Attack and we hit Hypnosis. We just kept using Pound until it wakes up and hits us with a Quick Attack for big damage. And we just put it to sleep again and repeat the process all over again. On the turn that Pidgeotto woke up, I switched to Kadabra and finished it off so that Drowsy can get some experience at least. Gen 1 Sleep is overpowered, by the way. You cannot move on the turn where you wake up. That is the only reason Drowsy survived as long as it did. Eradicated is next, so I switched back to Drowsy to get rid of the accuracy drop from Sand Attack. Of course, Drowsy went down very quickly. I brought out Kadabra again and I used Psybeam for the one-shot. Next was his Kadabra, and the only thing he did was use Teleport for some reason, and then hit himself in confusion to knock himself out. Last was Charmeleon, and he was a one-shot with Psybeam. Yeah, easy fight. I do need to level up Drowsy though before taking on Surge. I'm gonna go grab our next Pokemon and then grind them up to maybe level 20. To get our next encounter, we must take the Abra we caught earlier. We go past Diglett Cave and apparently we don't need Cut to get this one. Oops. Anyway, I trade Abra for Mr. Mime and now we have 3 Pokemon we can use. It's only level 10, but it's got decent stat and already knows a Psychic type move. I'll grind Mr. Mime and Drowsy until they are level 20, then I'll take on Surge. I start off using Mr. Mime and start by using Barrier to boost our defenses, although we took small damage from a couple of tackles. Then I switched to Confusion and he used X Speed, even though he was already faster than us. A couple more Confusions did the job and he only ended up using Screech. Next was Pikachu and we outsped to hit Confusion for big damage. Then he paralyzed us with Thunder Wave. No berries in this gen, so we'll just have to deal with it. The next turn he hit us with Quick Attack and one more Confusion takes out Pikachu. Last was Raichu and he starts off by using Growl, which is fine because we don't have any physical attacking moves, but then we got fully paralyzed. Next turn he uses X Speed, despite the fact that he was faster than us, again, and we use Confusion to hit for about a quarter of his health. He used Growl again, and I used Confusion to bring him down to half, and he hits us with big damage from a crit Thunder Shock. Confusion did next to nothing this time for some reason. Then he finished off Mr. Mime with a Thunderbolt. I bring Drowsy next and he get hit by a Thunderbolt for huge damage, and Confusion didn't do much in return. He could have finished us off, but he just used Thunder Shock instead, which we survived, and then Confusion does enough damage to knock it out. Not a bad first try. The Pokemon Tower rival fight is next. It should be really easy, right? It starts between Drowsy and Pidgeotto. It outspeeds, only to use Whirlwind, which does nothing. Then we hit Confusion for about a quarter of his health. He actually hits us the next turn with Gust, and a second Confusion does good damage and he got confused. Next turn, he hits himself with Confusion and we finish it off. Next is Execute and I try Confusion, but it doesn't do much. He uses Barrage, which missed that time. I use Headbutt and he missed Barrage again. Another Headbutt brings him down to less than half, but this time he hits his Barrage. We continued that same exchange for a while and ended up with us beating Execute with 31 HP remaining. Next is Gyarados and it hits us with Bite to bring us down to 10 damage. Bite is normal in this gen, by the way, there's no Dark type yet. We used Confusion and it didn't do much. He just used Hydro Pump to finish us off. I brought out Mr. Mime next and obviously one Thunderbolt was enough to one-shot Gyarados. Kadabra is next and I set up a Light Scream knowing it only uses special moves. All he did was disabled and just spammed teleport until he went down. Last was Charmeleon, and 2 Confusions took him down after he got confused and hit himself. Easy fight. Let's take on the grass gym next, as that should be really easy. Then I'll do the Rocket Hideout, Pokemon Tower, and get our next encounter after we get the Pokeflute. On the way, Drowsy evolved into Hypno. I'm glad because it really wasn't doing as much damage as the other members of the team. But as you can see, it got a big boost to his special, meaning it now has a higher special than Mr. Mime. Let's try him out against Erica. I know I wasn't at full health with Hypno, but considering we have a type advantage, I was sure I didn't need to be. Razor Leaf crits as it always does in this game to bring us down to just 26 HP, and we hit Confusion for less than half. Razor Leaf just knocks us out the next turn and we bring out Mr. Mime. I use Confusion, it still isn't enough to take down Victory Bell, however, it got confused and took itself out after hitting itself. Great. Next was Tangela, and I started by setting up Light Screen. I was sure it wouldn't be able to damage me much. It hit us with Constrict for 2 damage, and we just hit Confusion a few times while it missed Bind to take it out easily. Last is Vileplume, and Confusion does less than half, but he just wastes turn using Poison Powder to poison us. Even though it hit us with Petal Dance, we tanked it just fine. 2 more Confusion did the job. Easy first attempt. Let's fight Giovanni next. First was Onyx, and we used Barrier to boost our defense, only for him to use Screech, meaning we just wasted our time. Confusion one-shot him the next turn. Next was Rhyhorn, and he went down in 2 Confusions as we took damage from Horn Attack. Finally, Kangaskhan came out, and we did alright damage from Confusion, but a critical bite hit us hard, bringing us down to only 6 HP. I used Confusion again, but it wasn't enough and he knocked us out with Rage. I then brought out Kadabra to finish it off. Easy fight. I'll finish getting the Pokeflute next, and then we are going to have more encounters. After getting the Super Rod, I went back to Route 10 to fish up a Slowpoke. I named it Slow Dope just because. It's only level 15 and only knows Confusion for now, but once I bring it up to level, it'll be a solid addition to the team, especially when it evolves into Slowbro. We are far from done though. Let's head to Fuchsia and we can grab 2 more encounters after we reach there. Fuchsia? How do you even pronounce that? On the same route, I used the Good Rod to fish up a Poliwag, which I evolved into Poliwhirl and used it to trade for Jinx. It's level 25, so we don't need to level up that much, but its moveset is not great. I then went to the Safari Zone to catch Execute. I named it Excellent. I never used this in Gen 1 before, so I'm looking forward to it. Finally, I fished up Staryu on the route below Fuchsia City. There really isn't anything I wanted to learn by level up, so I'm just gonna use the Water Stone to evolve it into Starmie immediately. With that, we have our last team member. Let me get it up to level 25, and I'll try to see how Koga goes. So I actually tried Koga at a fairly low level, just because I knew we had a type advantage. I started with Execute, just for fun, but of course it got taken out very easily. Coughing has a 12th level advantage over us, so naturally it outsped us and hit us with a strong sludge which poisoned us. I used Hypnosis this turn, then set up a barrier, and of course Barrage did absolutely nothing. We just got taken out by the poison damage. Next is Starmie, and despite Coughing having a whole 11 level advantage over us, we easily take it out with a crit Psychic. Starmie crits a lot, by the way, in this game. Muck was next, and Psychic crit again for huge damage, and it used Minimize as I expected. I switched to Surf, which missed that turn, and it uses Poison Gas. Luckily, a second Surf hit him and knocked him out. His second coughing came out, and Psychic could not one-shot. He used Sludge to bring us down to half, and we just finished him off easily. Last was of course Wheezing. Psychic takes him down to just about half, and he takes us out with Sludge. It doesn't matter. I bring out Jinx, and he used Toxic while we use Ice Beam. And what happens? Koga uses Self-Destruct the next turn, even though it was his last Pokemon. Never changed, Gen 1 Koga. Considering there was like a 17 level difference between Jinx and Wheezing, I'd say it turned out to be a fairly good outcome. It's a good first try win at a low level. I don't think I'm ready for Sabrina. Let's go through Silph-Co, gain some levels, do the rival fight, and then Giovanni, then I'll fight Sabrina. After that, Blaine should be easy since I have 2 strong water types with Surf. Okay, Silph-Co rival fight. This was a weird one only because I made it more complicated than it should have been. It starts off well enough with me taking out Pidgeot with 2 Thunderbolts while I just uses Whirlwind for some reason. Next was Execute, and I start off by using Light Screen, and this is what I mean by I made it more complicated than it should have been. At this point, I should have just switched to Jinx and used Ice Beam. Instead, I use Confusion and I get paralyzed by Stun Spore. I switched to Thunderbolt, but I ended up fully paralyzed multiple times. He tried to use Leech Seed and I evaded a couple of times, and every now and then he used Reflect for some reason, even though Reflect was already up. Eventually, when his Leech Seed hit, I decided enough was enough. Then I switched out to Jinx, who got paralyzed by Stun Spore, and I used Ice Beam to finish what should have been a straightforward fight. Next was Gyarados, and I bring back Mr. Mime because of Thunderbolt. He just uses Leer, and I hit him with a Thunderbolt, which did not one-shot and left him with what must have been 2 or 3 HP. He uses Leer again, and I opt for Confusion to finish him off, but we get fully paralyzed. Then he hits us with Dragon Rage, and a second one will finish us off, meaning we have to hit this Confusion, which we do, and we take him out. Next is Alakazam, his most annoying Pokemon, and here's why. He knows Recover, and the AI has infinite PPs in this gen. I try to whittle him down with Thunderbolt, and we can actually tank decent damage from his Psy Beams. Unfortunately, we had terrible paralysis luck, and we got confused, although we never hit ourselves. I brought him down to a decent amount before we got taken out. Then I brought out Executor. It's Execute. Why do I do this? Why do I not check what I write? Anyway, he immediately recovers. I tried Barrage, but again, it is a terrible move. I don't know why I keep trying it. I tried Leech Seed a couple times until I managed to hit it, and he recovers to full health. And once again, I don't know why I used Barrage. Eventually, I wisened up and just switched to Starmie, and he hit us with Psybeam. I tried Tackle since it's physical and Alakazam is physically frail, but Surf was doing more damage, so I just spammed that move for a while. With a little bit of Leech Seed damage towards the end, our Surf was just strong enough to win us the matchup. Finally, it was Charizard, and he just used Rage twice as I 2-shot him with Surf. Considering we were at a lower level than his Pokemon and that this was the first try, I'd say that despite me not playing well, it was pretty good. For Giovanni, I decided to use Slowpoke because he didn't get to do anything in the previous battle. He starts off by using Guard Spec, and I hit him with Confusion. Long story short, I just spammed Confusion until he went down. He didn't hit us much. Even when he did, he didn't do that much damage to us. Next was Kangaskhan, and again he uses Guard Spec as I switched to spamming Surf. He hit us with a really strong Bite the next turn. Now, if he used Bite again, he would have knocked us out, but instead he goes for Tail Whip and Rage before he goes down. Next is Rhyhorn, who of course is a one-shot with Surf. Then comes Nidoqueen. Since it's also a ground type, I spam Surf again, and it only starts by using Tail Whip. Then the next turn, he uses a Guard Spec, so we bring him down to less than half. And then he uses Tail Whip again. Wow, great move choice, Giovanni. The next turn, he actually attacks with Poison Sting, and even with a crit was not enough to take us out, so we just finished him off with Surf. Incredibly easy first try, mostly because Giovanni was a moron. Next is Sabrina, though. I doubt it'll go that smoothly, but let's try it out. Sabrina starts off fine enough. I start off with Jinx and she uses Kadabra and immediately hits us with a hard Psychic. We use Lovely Kiss in return. Of course, it just woke up the next turn. I switched to Double Slap and it didn't do much. I tried the same strategy again, but she just woke up immediately once again and then hit us with Psybeam. We got confused and hit ourselves, but I decided to gamble on one thing, Ice Beam Freeze, which I actually got. Gen 1 Freeze is broken, by the way, so I just spammed Ice Beam until we took it down. Next was Mr. Mime, and it took us out immediately with Double Slap. I went for a mirror match and started with Light Screen to reduce damage from special moves. She went for Double Slap again, which didn't do much. We retaliated with Thunderbolt, which crit for great damage. She went for Double Slap again, but Thunderbolt crit again, and we knocked it out. Next was Venomoth, and here is where I learned that I was wrong in the intro when I said that we had no super effective move against us. It turns out I completely forgot that Sabrina's Venomoth had Leech Life. Oh well, luckily it's really weak in this gen, so it couldn't knock us out. We just took it out with 3 confusions. Next was the worst part of the fight, and not for the reason you think. For some reason, no matter what move I used, Alakazam literally only spammed Recover. That's right, only Recover for the entire fight. And remember, the AI does not run out of PP in this gen. It basically just spammed Recover a million times until I came up with a plan. After some trial and error, I switched to Execute and decided to try a strategy of Leech Seed, Hypnosis, and Barrage. After around a few minutes, it took me a couple tries, but I managed to slowly whittle down this annoying Alakazam once it actually fell asleep for more than one turn for a change. And with a bit of patience and some luck, I took it out and beat Sabrina. It was a first try. Alakazam was the only one that annoyed me, but it's done. Blaine is next. I wonder if I can just surf spam my way through the fight at the current level. Is this even a surprise? Starmie swept through his first 3 Pokemon with 3 crits in a row. We could not one-shot Arcanine, but it didn't matter. He used Takedown to inflict recoil damage on himself, meaning that Surf was enough to take him out. Easiest fight in the run so far. Let's see how Giovanni and the ground gym go. On the way, Kadabra evolved into Alakazam on my very real Game Boy. Look at these stats. Incredible speed and special, which I'm sure will be handy if Giovanni's Nidos give us any trouble. There is quite the difference in levels, but let's try and see what happens. I start off with Slowpoke against Rhyhorn. He outsped us and hit us with Fury Attack, but Surf obviously one-shots. Next is Ductrio and the Slash crits for huge damage. We hold on, and surprisingly, Surf does not one-shot. Maybe it's because of the 8 level difference. He could have finished us off, but he just used Guard Spec instead. So a second Surf takes him out. What a dumb move by Giovanni. Okay, Nidoqueen comes out and uses Body Slam to finish us off. I bring out Jinx and we get outsped only for him to use Scratch. It still did a decent amount of damage. We use Ice Beam and it did about half. The next turn he uses Poison Sting in the 8th gym and we finish it off with a critical Ice Beam. Nidoking comes out and he uses Tackle, which brings us down to 4 HP. Tackle, Scratch, and Poison Sting in the 8th gym. We use Blizzard, which not only hits but also froze Nidoking, so we just took him out the next turn after Giovanni used another guard spec. Last was Rhyhorn. We outsped despite being 18 levels lower and hit Blizzard. It didn't freeze, but he only used Horn Drill, which missed. So I finish him off with Ice Beam. Easy first try. Even despite the level difference between us, I don't know how the rival fight will go next, but let's see. Rival fight. I start off with Jinx against Pidgeot. It outspeeds only to use Whirlwind and we hit Blizzard, which did not one-shot. The next turn he used Quick Attack, which crit and one-shot us from full health. I know there's a level difference, but is Jinx actually that frail? Anyway, I bring out Mr. Mime next and finish it off with Thunderbolt after tanking a Quick Attack. Next is Rhyhorn and I use Starmie. Despite being 11 levels lower, I outsped and used Surf for the one-shot. Execute is next, and this is where I realized I should have saved Jinx, but oh well. I brought out Alakazam and basically just spammed Seismic Toss until we took it out. I thought it would be a 3-shot, but it wasn't. He just used a potion though, so we won easily anyway. Next is Gyarados, and Mr. Mime is obviously back. I used Thunderbolt, tanked a Bite, and a second Thunderbolt finished it off. His Alakazam comes out and I go for a mirror match. This time it does not just spam recovery and actually attacks us. I went for Seismic Toss again and used recovery to stay healthy and just spam the move until we took it out. Finally, it was Charizard and I bring out Starmie. There is a 19 level difference between us, by the way. I use Surf and he just uses Leer twice. 2 Surfs actually were not enough. He used Slash, which crit and brought us down to just 9 HP, but we finished him off. Another straightforward first try. We were about to enter the Elite Four at a really low level. We are about to face the Elite Four and not one of our Pokemon have reached level 40. In fact, Execute is still level 30. I don't know if it's possible at this level. I don't think it is. First is Lorelei, who is, in my opinion, the most difficult member of the Elite Four. The only answer I have is probably Thunderbolt at this level. Even if I evolve Execute, she has mostly Ice types, and her Slowbro is going to be really tough. Once I get past her though, I think I will have a straightforward path until I reach the champion fight. Bruno should be a pushover thanks to Surf and Psychic moves. Agatha has Poison Pokemon, so that should be trivial as well. Lance might be a bit tricky, but with Ice moves and Surf for Aerodactyl and Thunderbolt for Gyarados, I think it will go smoothly enough. I am actually not worried about the champion fight. It's just a matter of how many levels we get gained to actually have to win. Lorelei, and I tried this a few times and this was the craziest attempt. I start off with Mr. Mime, who knows Thunderbolt, and we get hit by Aurora Beam, which takes out more than half our HP. I decide to set up a light screen, thinking of the long term, and she just uses Growl. I use another Thunderbolt which paralyzes her, but she breaks through and finishes off with Takedown. Next I bring out Kadabra and decide to try Seismic Toss, but it was the wrong move. Luckily she just growled again, so I finished off Dugong. Cloyster comes out next, and I use Psychic, which was not even a 2-shot. The level gap is just way too big, I think. It misses Supersonic, and thanks to a special drop from earlier, we managed to luck out and take it down without taking any damage. Next is Slowbro, and I anticipated that she would spam Amnesia, so I brought out Execute, which tanked a water gun decently well despite our 24 levels difference. I missed the first Leech Seed, but the second one worked. So here's the plan. I put Slowbro to sleep as it loses health due to Leech Seed. It took a couple of attempts, but I managed to do it because all she did was spam Growl. Anyway, I set up Reflect, and then the next turn brought out my Slowpoke. I chipped away at it until it woke up. By then, we did great damage thanks to Leech Seed. It turned to a game of patience as she started using potions and either increase her defense or reduce our attack stats. Eventually, we managed to beat Slowbro with our health fully intact. Next is Jinx, and this is where it starts going downhill. She uses Double Slap and we retaliate with Strength, which does pretty much nothing. I guess the 21 level difference is too much in the end. I switch out to Kadabra and she uses Body Slam, which brings us down to half our health. I tried using Recover, but knowing she was just going to use Body Slam, I knew I had to change strategy, so I used Seismic Toss. Unfortunately, her next Body Slam crit and took us out. Not good. Slowpoke is out, Body Slam crit again, and we got paralyzed. We broke through and hit with Strength, but it was not doing much. Next, she just finishes off with another crit Body Slam. 3 crits in a row, by the way. Execute obviously got one shot with Ice Punch, and Starmie came out and immediately got paralyzed with Body Slam. Our Surf eventually crit, and we took out Jinx, but it was too late. Lapras came in and finished both Starmie and my own Jinx very quickly. This was our best attempt. You know what? Let me re-strategize and use just a couple of rare candies on my Pokemon and try again. I think I can still win at a decently low level. Once again, we managed to get to Lapras. This time I lost Starmie and Mr. Mime due to some bad luck, but we had 4 Pokemon remaining. However, even with Slowpoke evolved into Slowbro, it still swept our team very easily. Execute went down easily, but that wasn't the problem. The problem was that Lapras got way too many crits for a Pokemon with that speed. It was ridiculous. Like, yeah, we were not doing much damage, but I couldn't help but feel hard done by here, even with the level difference. When it came down to just Jinx, we put up a fight with Lovely Kiss and Double Slap, but Lorelai's potions made the difference in the end. I'll try again. This time I'll evolve Execute. I wanted to see if it was possible without Executor, but I don't think it is. I think if we can get to the point where we can withstand one hit with Executor, then we can win this. So this took a few tries. I'm gonna start at Slowbro. We took it on with Mr. Mime and spammed Thunderbolt until we took it down, but the important thing here is that we got her to use both our potions, which is a big deal. Up next is Jinx, and she immediately finishes us with Ice Punch. I bring out Starmie and she starts spamming Thrash while I use Surf. Our second Surf crit while she brought us down to 36 HP, and here is where it gets crazy. The next Thrash brings us down to literally 1 HP, but Surf was not enough. However, she hit herself in confusion the next turn and took herself out. What a relief. But last, of course, is Lapras, the toughest Pokemon she has. He had one Psychic before she takes us out. I bring out Slowbro and use Body Slam while I opt for Confusion, hoping for a little bit of Confusion luck, but I never got it. We just exchanged moves until she took us out. I brought out Executor hoping to use Explosion, but we get one shot by Blizzard. Not good. I decided to try Gamble next. I bring out Jinx and Outspeed and use Lovely Kiss. Then I immediately switch to Alakazam. I spammed Psychic while hoping she stayed asleep. Thing is, Lapras did wake up eventually, but in this gen, you cannot move on the turn you wake up from sleep, and we did just enough to finally take out this beast. I am so glad this is over. I don't think the rest of the Elite Four will be this difficult, but you never know. Let's see how Bruno goes. Yeah, Bruno was even easier than I thought it would be. Even with our lower levels, we one-shot every single one of his Pokemon with either Surf from Starmie or Psychic from Alakazam. Agatha is next, and she is usually tough, but let's see. Agatha was actually a bit tough, but not really for the right reasons. She starts with Gengar, but only uses Dream Eater, despite the fact that we were awake, and we just two-shot her with Psychic. Next was Golbat, and I decide to bring out Jinx to save on Psychic PP. She just uses Haze, and we hit Ice Beam to bring it down to just above half. I decide to not risk low damage and went for Blizzard, which knocked it out. She brings out Haunter next, and this is where things got a little annoying. She used Nightshade to bring us down to just 50 HP, and we used Psychic, which was a two-shot. Next turn, she used Hypnosis and put us to sleep despite the low accuracy, because of course she did. I switch out to Alakazam, and she, conveniently enough, used Hypnosis again, almost like she knew we were gonna switch. And of course she landed the move again. And then she for some reason withdraws Haunter and brings out Arbok. We stayed asleep and took damage from Bite, but since Arbok couldn't put us to sleep, I decided to switch to Slowbro. We took a couple of bites which took us down to 69 HP. Nice. I used Confusion, which did not do much. She missed Glare. I switched to Surf. She misses Screech. I hit another Surf. She withdraws the next turn for some reason and brings out Haunter. Nightshade brings us down to 14 HP and Confusion hit to take that annoying Haunter down. She brings back Arbok and Bite finishes us off. I bring out Mr. Mime, she missed Screech, and we finish it off with Confusion. And last was her Gengar, who used Dream Eater, and he did it when we were awake. Again? Yeah. The next turn though, she used Nightshade to bring us down to 36 HP, and we used Confusion. Gengar used Toxic for some reason, and we crit Confusion. Once again, instead of finishing us off, she used Dream Eater, and Confusion ends the fight. Agatha threw that one, didn't she? Whatever, let's see how Lance goes. So clearly our levels are way too low for this. We are not even close to one-shotting Gyarados with Thunderbolt yet. Not to mention, it took us out way too easily with Hydro Pump. I bring out Slowbro and we take damage from Dragon Rage, and Confusion did absolutely nothing in return. Surf was somehow doing more damage. We brought it down to low health after using Leer a couple of times, but a Hyper Potion brings it back to full health. We got Gyarados confused, and even with us spamming Confusion and it hitting itself 3 times in a row, we still could not defeat it. It used Hyper Beam and missed, but Confusion didn't do enough. The next Hyper Beam hits, take us out. I bring out Starmie to finally beat it with Psychic, but it didn't matter. I brought out Jinx for Dragonair, but it just outsped us and took us out with Hyper Beam. The rest of the team did not stand a chance, we got taken out quickly. We did manage to beat Dragonair eventually with Alakazam, but With our low level, there was no way to actually win this fight. I'll get my team to level 40 at least, then I'll try again. So yeah, this is still not happening. Some of my Pokemon are level 45 at this point. Mr. Mime still cannot one-shot Gyarados with Thunderbolt. But luckily we beat it at full health because it only used Leer. As for Dragonair, we almost one-shot it with Blizzard, but it survived with what must have been 1 health. Luckily, Dragonair got frozen and Jinx won with Body Slam. The second Dragonair is out and I meant to use Blizzard again, but I accidentally used Ice Beam and it survived. But Slam missed, so a second Ice Beam took it out. Next was Aerodactyl. I used Starmie. It immediately confused us, and I accidentally used Sidekick instead of Surf. What is wrong with me? A crit bite took us down to low health, and we broke through confusion and beat it with Surf, mostly thanks to a special drop from Psychic. Unfortunately, last was Dragonite, and this is where things went badly. Starmie went down quickly thanks to us hitting ourselves, and it was clear my luck ran out. It outspeed and one-shot Jinx, then Mr. Mime. With Executor, it missed Hyper Beam, and I just used Explosion hoping for the best, but it was not even close. Slowbro survived Hyper Beam, but we were not strong enough to do any real damage. I was hoping for Dragonite to get confused, but no such luck. Look at this. Look at how close I was with Alakazam, but once he used a Hyper Potion, I knew we were doomed. So close. I know we can do this. Few more rare candies, and let's try again. A few attempts later, and I'll just show you Dragonites. I had Jinx out after it beat the 2 Dragonairs. It got taken out very quickly. I brought out Mr. Mime and used Barrier hoping to reduce damage, but we got outsped and crit and one-shot. Executor came out and survived Hyper Beam with just 1 HP. Then it blew up to bring Dragonite to just about half. Thank you for your service, buddy. 2 Pokemon remain and I decided to go all out. Alakazam hit Psychic and just barely misses out on the KO. However, Dragonite had to recharge that turn, meaning one final Psybeam ended this fight, and we are on to face the champ. One more battle. Let's do this. I used Mr. Mime first because I knew he would start with Pidgeot. It charges for Sky Attack, and we hit Thunderbolt which crit, but it was still a 2-shot. However, Pidgeot got paralyzed, meaning we outsped and finished it off the next turn. Awesome start. He used Alakazam next, and I used Slowbro because especially it is the toughest on my team. His Psychic actually did good damage due to the level difference, and I used Headbutt which crit. Another Psychic brings us down to low health, and Strength didn't do as much as I hoped it would. It finishes us off with Psybeam. I use Starmie, and he starts off with Reflect while I hit him with Surf. The next Surf took him down after he did damage with Psybeam, meaning his scariest Pokemon has been knocked out. Rhydon was an easy one-shot with Surf, and then I bring out Jinx for Executor. Blizzard was not a one-shot, but we survived Stomp, and our second Blizzard crit to take it out. Gyarados is next, and of course I bring out Mr. Mime. Thunderbolt was a 2-shot as expected. Last was Charizard, which immediately trapped us with Fire Spin. In this gen, if somebody uses a move like Fire Spin or Wrap, you cannot do anything for a few turns. I am so glad they got rid of this stupid mechanic in the next gen. It wasn't that bad this time, and he just used Rage the next turn. So I Thunderbolt twice. Rage eventually took us out, but it didn't matter. I knew he would use Full Restore, so I decided to bring out Starmie, Basically, I just used Surf while he spammed Rage, which is a terrible move by the way, until he went down, and we beat the game without even one of our Pokemon reaching level 50. This was fun honestly, but it was also a reminder as to why I don't play Gen 1 anymore. Why would I when Fire Red and Leaf Green is there and fixes all the problem this game has? Anyway, I have no idea what my next Pokemon challenge will be or even when it will be. I have some ideas I want to explore and I hope to do it pretty soon, but until then, I will see you all in the next adventure.